Hi everyone, I'm Anveenie and welcome to the channel. In this video, I am building the train station using the new railway station set and the London clock tower from the premium shop in Disney Dreamlight Valley. I decided to make this build in a Glamour Gulch in Wishblossom Ranch DLC because of the aesthetics and atmosphere of this biome. I think it works well for this industrial and maybe slightly steampunk inspired design. And I set the time in the game to be around sunset because I think the Glamour Gulch looks the best around this time. That will make all the lights inside buildings and all the lampposts turn on automatically, which looks much better and brighter. This is the Haute Plateau, located on this elevated area in Glamour Gulch, with two staircases going down and some gorgeous views on the mountains. And we have this large tower from the bridge leading to Cruella's fortress. I want to start with laying out the train tracks, going from the bridge and connecting all three entrances. To frame the entrances, I added the DeVille Manor archways that I will use to center the track lines with. I'm using the train tracks from the new bundle because these pieces can be purchased from Scrooge after you have it. You can't place anything on the tracks though, so the alternative would be to use craftable Oswald's trolley tracks, but they do require a lot of plastic scraps from Eternity Isle. I'm also laying out the muddy path under the tracks to make the track lines more visible on this dark grass. I'm placing the railway station in the center of the area, towards the back border, but with a bit of a gap on the back to be able to access those mining nodes. I'm using the Ville Manor building kit pieces to extend the railway station entrance and create this larger building. The building pieces from the railway station kit actually have a gap when placed close to each other, but the DeVille Manor pieces fit very nicely and don't have a gap when placed next to this railway station entrance. I'm also adding the stained glass greenhouse elements for the front of the station and on the side to create a tunnel for our train. The railway station awning will serve as a nice accent for the entrances. I'm going to place the London clock tower on the same line with the well, and this is going to be kind of like a central alley between the two lines of train tracks. Later, I'm going to add some plants in the center to make it look nice and full. Just need to make sure all the tracks are nice and centered with the path underneath, and all corners are connected. This part took a bit of a back and forth, but it all worked out at the end. At least now we have the group select tool, which makes it much easier to move the rows of tracks instead of replacing them individually. I'm also going to add lines of worn brick road outside of the muddy path to create this kind of texture on the ground. This would make the build look more structured and urban, and it also helps to save on the item limit. Put the train in a tunnel. I'm not gonna have the train tracks underneath because these current ones cannot be placed under anything, and I don't see the point of using the Oswald's tracks because you can't even see them here. So I'm just gonna continue the tracks after the train car. The downside is obviously that you can't just move the train freely anytime and need to plan where to place the train and account for the gap in the tracks, which is ridiculous. I think this track should absolutely be fixed and work like the other ones. For the rest of the pathing under buildings, I'm going to use Main Street path. It looks nice and it matches the warm color of the buildings and this biome overall. To fill the rest of the area space, I'm adding a few cast iron greenhouses with a fountain plaza in front. And the railway awning actually fits very well as a greenhouse entrances. For the stained glass greenhouse frames, I'm gonna use the archway doors to close off the sides a bit. And the same for the train tunnel, except that I'm using solid panels on the edges. And I am continuing the stained glass fence to the left side to nicely frame this area and hide the cliff sides a bit. But I will leave the last corner piece as an archway to access the mining node. This is going to be a fountain plaza with a row of plants along the fence. Next, I am decorating the central alley with bushes and trees and a couple of these park blocks. I will be reusing the same bushes and trees around the build and also adding the bridge lamppost from Storybook Vale on corners of the streets. I also decided to use the Parisian statue with Remy as the secondary centerpiece to fill that empty spot, but it also matches the rest of the architecture and leaves enough space to get to the river for fishing. Now add in another train car in front of the station. And for this one, I need to remove existing tracks and replace just one of them with the Oswald's track because the train is slightly smaller than the gap. It's not super noticeable. I think the muddy path helps with visually continuing that line of tracks underneath the train, and you don't notice the gap as much. I'm adding the wrought iron fence to separate the station sidewalk from the train tracks. And for lighting, I'm actually going to include a couple different lampposts. I like the main street lamppost because it matches the streetcar color and casts these beautiful cones of lights. In front of the station, I added the stone lantern tree column to add even more warm light. The railway station crossing goes on a couple corners where the tracks are changing directions. The downside of this item is that it has an invisible collision to the sides, so you can't walk past it when too close. It is very annoying actually. You want to place it somewhere where you don't usually walk. As a new fun detail, I used the rearing stallion to frame the archway entrances. We just got it from the springtime festival, and I want to find ways to use it in builds. As another type of street lamps, I really like the look of the winterful iron lamppost for this build because they match the fence and greenhouses. Without these warm earth tone buildings and green elements, this biome would look all red and black because most of the crafting items from this area are mostly red and black color. And I keep using them in Glamour Gulch because they look good here. But I'm really glad that we got this railway set in this color palette. It will be useful for a lot of areas and builds. As a final touch, I'm adding some Glamour Gulch furniture, Cruella's car, and a couple of carriages. I realized that we can actually add decor in the middle of these gothic tables, and I used a couple different options to intersect with that umbrella. Also, did you know that wrought iron trellises can go on top of tables? Because I never noticed, but now I want more items like this to build furniture like puzzles. And here is the finished train station in Glamour Gulch. I think it has a bit of that Victorian Steam Punk look. I really love how warm this area turned out, especially during the sunset. I hope you enjoyed this build and it provided some inspiration for decorating your valleys. Enjoy the walkthrough, and there is a list of items used for this build at the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. Check out my Wishing ALPS tour on the channel if you want to see more Wishblossom Ranch decorating ideas. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye everyone!